So thank you, everyone, especially with the short notice on the change of date. Good to see. We have a small group, so let's take advantage of that and go around the room. And we'll do a quick introduction so we can all connect. Christian, just to give you a heads up, you're the first top left of my screen. So I'm going to ask you first, if you don't mind, just to share yourself, where you're located, what work you're doing, and how long you've been with the Institute. Christian, would you be okay to kick off?
Sure, I'm happy to do so. Thank you so much for offering these monthly calls. They're always very inspiring and help us, keep the focus on the right thing. My name is Christian. I am actually originally from Nicaragua, but I grew up in LA. I lived in New York, and now I'm in Barcelona, Spain. So I've been around the world a bit, yeah. And I am a consultant and coach. I work doing strategic alignment for organizations and entrepreneurial projects. And obviously, implementation of strategy is one of the key elements that we look at. So that's the reason why I'm doing the training with you. I'll be finishing up soon. So really, learning much more than what I already knew, to help me have a clearer understanding, where there may have been gaps in my knowledge and understanding of how to work with people, really let them do what they need to do. The focus of the work is really on smaller organizations as well as startups, because I believe that there's room for everyone and not everything has to be the size of Amazon, And smaller organizations, they nurture communities. They're the heart of many communities. So I'm always happy to lend them a hand.
I have to share, just admit, Hashan. I used to work in Citibank, and one of the most classic Citibank mistakes was in the 80s. They were approached by a small startup in technology, but they turned down the business because they didn't do startups. And the company, Microsoft. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, today's startup, tomorrow's global leader. Right. So, Christian, thank you for sharing. Olga and then Funda, just as you appear on the screen. Olga, you okay to share? Just you introduce yourself, where you are and what you're doing, and when you joined the Institute. And thank you, Christian.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm Olgu from Turkey. I used to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ernst & Young for almost 4 years, and then I started to work for FNSS Defense Systems. That is a joint venture of BAE Systems. So we were based in Ankara. I'm working with Funda. We work together. So we're in the training process of strategy implementation professional certification. So we enjoy this material. So thank you very much for this periodic meetings. It helps a lot for us to improve our strategic knowledge. So I have a significant meeting to attend, hence, unfortunately, I'm supposed to leave after half an hour. I'm sorry for that.
No problem. I appreciate you making the last minute change of timing. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
And you mentioned you're working with Funda, yes?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
thank you, Funda.
we are working together in the same department. I am Funda. I'm from Turkey, and we are both working for FNSS Defense Systems, which is a manufacturer of land systems. Let's describe it. And I am here for. I have been working for 7 years now, and before FNSS, I have worked in MIN finance company, and totally 20 years experience I have. I can explain, and yeah, it's so valuable for us, your meetings. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate that, and good to meet you. Thank you, Funda. Hashan, you were there, and then you had to pull away. Are you still with us?
Yes, okay. Mr. Robin, I think you said Mr. Khadar, right?
No, but Khadar, please go ahead. How are you doing?
Yeah,
Hashan is back.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hashan, you go first.
I'm from Sri Lanka. Sure, I'm from Sri Lanka, but now I have moved to Finland. Now I'm staying at Finland. So
Wow.
a few months ago, I completed and passed the strategy implementation professional exam as well. And thank you very much for the course content, Robin and Antonio. It was a great experience. And currently, I'm doing some consultations as freelancing and looking for opportunities in Finland as well.
How did you end up going from Colombo to Finland?
All right. It's like this. So I thought to, get away from my comfort zone as according to the course content, it says that, isn't it?
I thought you were
And
going to say get away
especially-
from my wife, but okay, comfort zone.
No, actually, it was like this. My wife had an opportunity to do her master's, so I moved with her and supporting her
Good on you.
in here for her career. Yeah.
Good on you. Thank you. And all the best in Finland. It's a big change from your usual market.
Yeah.
But thank you. Next on the screen, Stuart, are you able to join us?
Yeah, good
Stuart.
morning. Hi, Robin. Great to meet you. I'll start with the fact that I'm literally just signed up last week.
Oh, welcome on board.
So yeah, very excited to join these sessions and to start really immersing myself in the strategy implementation framework. I'm currently a program director for Columbia Threadneedle Investments.
Okay.
So working
Yep, I
out
know
of
them.
London. And really exciting time for them as a firm, and hence where I think I can really utilize, a lot of what I'll learn here in the next kind of 3 months and ongoing as an ongoing member in furthering the firm's implementation of strategy, looking at kind of cultural integration and cultural development. And really kind of seeing how we can differentiate ourselves in what's a really challenging space for asset managers right now. So
Yes,
this
it
is
is.
very, very timely, and I'm very much looking forward
And
to
a
being an
rapidly
active
changing
member.
market as well. Are you based in London itself?
Yes, yeah, based
Okay.
in London.
Okay, Stuart, yeah, absolutely agree. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Kadar, you didn't get a chance. Are you going to say hi?
Yes.
And
Hi,
then Asma.
Robin. Hi, Robin. Hi, all the team. My name is Khadar. I'm from Somalia. As you might know, Somalia is located in East Africa. It is neighboring to Ethiopia. I think my colleague, Mr. Robin, he was there before 1 or 2 months. I think so.
Yes, I was. Yes.
Yeah. I work for a Telesom group of companies. It is a telecom, banking, energy, real estate. It is a chain of companies. I'm a deputy strategy and project manager. I am responsible for that office. And sometimes I work as a freelancer. So
Wow.
I became SIP strategy implementation professional last July. So I'm happy for the content. I'm happy for that certification, and it opened it up for many doors for me.
Okay, and congratulations and thank you. And you're absolutely spot on. I do work in Ethiopia. I have clients there. So yeah, right next door to you. So thank you, Kadar. And Asma, are you able to join us?
Hi. Yes.
Hey, wonderful to see you.
Thank you. So,
Please do an introduction for the others.
okay, this is Asma Khal from Bank Muscat, and this is my first meeting. Still, I don't know the content and what discussion we'll be having. I'll be the listener. Sorry, I know it's a strategy, but yes. So this is my first meeting. I'm happy that I have managed to join my first meeting, and thank you.
Shukran, thank you. And Asma and I were just together 4 weeks ago.
Yes.
I was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Muscat with the bank. Okay. So the advantage today, we're a small group, which means we can do it. I'm going to share, Asma, I'm going to share the agenda now. So let me just do a share screen. You know, the wonderful thing is I'm actually a little bit rusty on Zoom because gone from using it every day to not using it, which is a good thing because I much prefer being in person. But let me just do a screen share. Here we go. All right. So Asma, in answer to your question, we have 3 things on today's agenda. the Institute updates is always something we kick off with. Then today, I'm going to share something Antonio and I put together. We actually shared it initially at the conference, which is updates to SIR, which is our strategy implementation roadmap. And then we'll have a group discussion. The timing is always, we start at the top of the hour, we finish at the top of the hour. We don't overrun. It's part of an implementation discipline. Before I start though, let me also add, as we have a few newer members in the group, that one of the things also these meetings are for is if you have any questions about the course or things you're unsure about, or anything you want to ask, please do use this platform as an opportunity. Put it in the chat box if you want to put it privately to me, or if you're happy, we can discuss it later on, but that's also one of the benefits. So here we go. There's a few things to update. The first is that Antonio and I will both be at the Thinkers 50 conference in London on the 5th and 6th of November. Thinkers 50, they always use the Financial Times description. The Financial Times described them as the Oscars of management. So this is run by two people who are on our conference this year, Stuart and Des, and they bring together many of the top thinkers from around the world, and we use it as an opportunity to discuss and find out what's going on. And this year, 2 years ago, I was nominated with Piers, the CEO of DBS. 4 years ago, Antonio won an award from them. So this is the first time we've both been able to attend in person. And then 3 weeks later, we pack our bags again, and Antonio and I are both at the Peter Drucker conference in Vienna. And the reason I'm showing these is for those who are in the UK and Europe. If there's an opportunity to meet, if you're attending, then please do let us know, or if you're in the area. And I'm delighted to say at the Drucker Forum, both Antonio and myself have been invited to present. And this is one of the most prestigious conferences in our field. So the Institute continues to grow. Obviously, during both of these sessions, Antonio and I will be promoting the focus on implementation. As part of the update, we are continuing to look at membership continued value and new things that we can do. We have a few things that we are currently planning in Q4 to launch in 2024. One of them is implementation for non-profits. We're seeing a slow growth of more and more members coming from government and non-profit organizations. And two of our fellows did their thesis on non-profit implementation. So this is an area that neither Antonio or I are specialists in, and we're looking to build this and introduce it as part of the focus in 2024, because those in government will appreciate, or non-profit, it's a very different framework of how our operation, how they manage the business. So that's something we're planning. Oh, that's a typo, my fault. We're also looking to launch, we now have almost 200 people certified as SIP executives, it should say executives. And going forward, we want to start an exclusive club that will be benefits that the normal membership doesn't get. This may be introduction to CEOs, content and material that's not readily available to everyone. It could be occasional meetings to discuss new topics or specific things. So for example, at the moment, Antonio's running a public session on AI in project management, some of the latest thinking, and we'll make these discounted and exclusive for our SIPs. SIPs is Strategy Implementation Professionals for some of the new members. We abbreviate it. So this is something we're working on at the moment. The third thing is we're currently conducting the implementation survey. We have a few hundred results in, and we're looking to release this at the end of the year with a white paper sharing what are the trends within the industry. And the last item is Antonio and I are gearing up at the end of this year. We're going to review the course. It's come around very quickly, but it's already over 3-4 years. Well, it's 3 years since we launched the course. Now, we continuously tweak and update it with new articles and material, but we're going to do a 3-year step back and review. And we're going to look at the content, which, thank you to those already commented. We've received wonderful feedback, but we want it to remain absolutely relevant. There are new areas, new topics, new things. Everyone's talking about generative AI today. How does that fit with implementation? How does predictive analytics allow you to plan a strategy better? So there are new topics that we'll be looking at, and we'll tweak and adjust the course. And any changes we make will be updated in the body of knowledge, which all SIP members will receive, and then they'll receive an updated 2024 body of knowledge, the digital version. Is that okay? All right. If anyone would like to contribute or volunteer to participate in the course review, then please do let Antonio or myself know. We'll be starting it mid-December, and it's planning about a 6 weeks, so by the end of January to complete it. All right. So for those, I know a couple of you, it's your first time in the meeting. The monthly meetings, first of all, we do them alternatively between Antonio and myself. One of the reasons is geographically, time-wise. I try to run it if I'm available in the morning so that I can involve more of New Zealand, Australia, and that part of the world. Antonio, based in Europe, he runs them later in the evening so we can capture East Coast of America and Europe and the Middle East. But for today, and we also have different, sometimes we have people presenting, sometimes we talk content, sometimes group discussions. Today, it's going to be myself, and I'm going to share with you 14 latest best practices that Antonio and I are identifying to look to upgrade in the course. They're short, they're sharp, they're easy to grasp. And then after I finish them, we're going to invite you in to then discuss and give us your feedback. All right, here we go. So you'll recognize the strategy implementation roadmap. So there are 2 new best practices under each of the 7 areas on the roadmap. So we're kicking off simply because it's at the top on leadership excellence. There is a current trend in leadership that we're going to add to the course. And this is the shift from vertical to horizontal leadership. Now, what does that mean in English? Vertical leadership is what you're all familiar with. This is when you have to go to your boss to get permission. You have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. You have to sit in meetings to understand and get agreement and consensus. You have to go to finance to get the budgeting. You have to constantly go upwards in the organization to get sign-off, permission, and approvals. The problem today with vertical leadership is it creates bureaucracy and it slows down organizations at a time when companies are looking to work faster and quicker than ever before. Horizontal leadership is when you flatten the organization and you work end to end around the customer. not focused on your silo, which is vertical, but on the customer horizontally. And everybody is aligned towards the customer. Now, an example of horizontal leadership is leaders become the last to speak, not the first. In vertical leadership, the manager walks into the meeting, they will start the meeting, give the agenda, dictate what's going on. But in horizontal leadership, they step back because they want to listen and hear what's happening in the organization. Now, the power of horizontal leadership, to give you another example, is imagine somebody's just completed a hackathon and they were the winners. And they're full of pride after their 2-day digital solution for the customer. And they go back to their department and they're all ready to work with their colleagues cross-functionally. And their immediate boss says, I can't give you time to do anything else. You've already been out for 2 days. Then he says, I want a PowerPoint. Or she says, I want a PowerPoint explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it. Then after that, they have to go and get permission and ask for resources from finance. Then they have to find rooms and allocate resources. And they spend the next 12 weeks just trying to get started. This is a recipe for disaster. In horizontal leadership, we typically use quarterly budgeting. We use agile at scale. Employees are empowered, so the organization responds faster and quicker. Okay? Now, I spent a bit of time on the first one. I'll do the other ones a little bit quicker so we stay on time. The second key best practice under leadership excellence is sustaining an employee's excitement by creating a great place to work. There's a big discussion still going on 12, 18 months after that we moved into the endemic. Should you work from home? Should you work in the office? Whichever the environment, it's critical you create the right environment by having a great place to work, where you feel comfortable. It's somewhere you want to go into. Whether you're working from home or the office, you have that balance. So we want to ensure that we create the environment that encourages people and builds on their energy and excitement. Now, as we move around, sir, we move to value creation. In value creation, implementation can make phenomenal difference when you're successful. One of the big trends we're seeing as more and more companies adopt agile at scale is to move to quarterly budgeting. Now, point of clarification. We tend to use the term agile when we're moving from waterfall to agile in technology. Agile at scale is when the organization moves working in scrums or squads, and they start to use data and people are empowered. So to support them working in this new style, we use agile quarterly, we adopt quarterly budgeting. And many companies who struggle with agile, it's because they're still using annual budgeting and it can't respond fast enough to what they need done. The second best practice under value creation, when choosing strategic projects, adopt less is more. An approach for creating fewer. Now, this might seem counterintuitive. The more we do, the more we get done. No. By focusing on the most critical projects, you allocate the resources, your teams are not running around from one meeting to the next, and there's a clear thought about what's most important. So one of the rules Antonio has is for every 2 projects you create, you delete 1. Sorry, 2 must be completed or deleted away for every new one, the other way around. So every time you have a new project, you delete 2. Because otherwise you just keep adding and adding and adding, and you end up with too many projects. Now, the business model is the way we manage the business. And one of the key things we're looking at is the introduction of ecosystems. Ecosystems are the new business frontier. If you're not familiar with them, I encourage you to become familiar, because every company has to be looking at whether they should be in an ecosystem. The key focus of ecosystems is they add greater value to your customer experience. Now, the simplest example is whether you use Uber in the West or Grab or Gojek in the East. They don't just offer you share riding. They also offer you the opportunity to book a restaurant, do your shopping, send a parcel. So this additional services is by creating an ecosystem platform using open APIs with other services. And this is the new business frontier. The second best practice is moving towards being a data-driven organization to remain competitive in the digital world. The mantra is very straightforward. The better the data, the better the decisions. The companies who become data-driven today are the ones who will succeed in the next 4 to 5 years. It's not an option, it's compulsory. But for large companies, it can take 2 to 3 years. You first have to clean up all your old data. Then you have to start training and preparing your people to use data in their decision making, in their meetings. Then you got to build your data governance. Then who has access to what data? Who uses what? How is it being used? And then finally, you've got to be future ready by embedding data into every new initiative and project. This is a large task, but it's a compulsory one. Number 4, culture evolution. Culture drives the way a company implements. 2 companies can have the same strategy, but how they implement it's driven by their culture. 2 new best practices that Tony and I are looking at. Culture means making people understand each other better to work together better. More and more, we're working cross-functionally. Finally, we're eliminating silos. For those adopting digital, if you're siloed, you fail. So digital is forcing silos to be eliminated. And as we work cross-functionally, the culture has to encourage people to collaborate. A simple example from a company here in Singapore. When they built their new premises, overlooking the Bay Area in Singapore, which is one of the most expensive real estates in the world, they didn't build the executive offices, they put them in the back. The front windows were the meeting areas to encourage teams and different departments to come together. So they built the environment that encouraged collaboration. Also, by putting the senior leaders in the back, they sent a very important message about what needed to be done and who was important. The second one, when implementation happening more frequently than ever, developing the right culture to support your implementations become even more critical. This again is influenced by digital transformation. one of the top 3 reasons why digital transformation fails is because the company doesn't change its culture. The other 2 reasons are leadership mindset and not recognizing its whole business model change. So culture has become even more important because with massive transformation going on around digital transformation, you've got to make sure the culture encourages the right actions. At 5 is our stakeholder management. These are engaging our key players and communicating to them. So best practice, you've got to create a platform for conversations to engage and communicate. Leaders know this, but they don't do it. For 20 years in our research, poor communication is one of the top 3 reasons every single time why implementation fails. Knowing something and doing it is 2 different things. So you've got to create the platform that allows leaders to continuously communicate and encourages employees to share, which means going beyond emails and creating social media groups, creating social spaces, creating the right opportunities. The second best practice, involve key stakeholders in the definition of your strategic goals. Bring in, when possible, your frontline employees. They are one of your key stakeholders. Ask them, get feedback from them. Now, this is something that's not so new, but we want to reinforce it. It's not always possible. Some companies, they have to rush into a new strategy. They're losing market share, they're losing capital, recession, politics, inflation. But when you have the time, it's good to include your front line to treat them as one of your strategy stakeholders. And our penultimate one, employee engagement. Without it, implementation fails. So the first best practice, ask for early adopters. 1 in 5 people will support your implementation. They are the ones who are positive, enthusiastic, and you need to tap into them. They will give you early wins and quick successes. If 1 in 5 are positive, 3 out of 5 just sit on the fence and go, okay. They don't support, but they don't resist. And the last 1 out of 5 are the ones who resist. Many companies think it's more because these are the ones who make the most noise. But don't focus on those who resist, which is the mistake. Focus on your volunteers, the ones who are positive. The second best practice, increase employee engagement by talking about why your strategy before you talk about the what. People need to connect with the message, both emotionally and intellectually. So those who have been through the course have heard me talk about this. Before people will take the right actions, they have to understand the bigger picture, why the organization is changing. What does the strategy mean to them? How can they contribute? What will happen once they do? Then we encourage them to take the right actions. And number 7, our final one, tracking performance. Unbelievably, to this day, some organizations only review their implementation once or twice a year. That's it. Khalas, it's done. It's not enough. You have to start your monthly leadership meetings. It's a best practice by asking where are we on our implementation journey? Now, there's many cartoons you might have seen where at the end of the meeting, the leader goes, oh yeah, hang on, there's one more thing. We have 2 minutes left. How are we doing on our strategy? Huh? This is because leaders get so caught up in the day-to-day running of the business that they don't step back to look at tomorrow. But why are they paid the big bucks? To ensure the company moves into tomorrow. So by putting the strategy review right at the start of a monthly meeting, first of all, it demonstrates the importance to the leadership. Secondly, that cascades down because each person in the meeting has to come prepared. So it's a very powerful best practice to keep your implementation front and center. And our final one, change your strategy, change your measures. Once again, it's amazing that companies launch a new strategy but don't change their measures. So what are they doing? By default, they are measuring the old strategy because they haven't changed the measures. And as you know, what gets measured gets done. So people continue to implement the old strategy. You would think obvious, but no. Just because it's common sense doesn't mean it's common practice. Now in digital, in the second part of this, it's become even more critical because in digital transformation, there's measures we've never used before, such as scalability, going paperless. So there's a set of new measures we need to also introduce. So here we go. Let me step back and pause for a moment to see comments or questions. And then we're going to have a discussion about which is your favorite of the best practices, so Antonio and I can get your feedback. So let me pause for a moment and see if there's any comments or questions.
That's a question.
Olga, sorry, say once more.
I would like to ask a question. Thank God my meeting has canceled, so I'm here. I wonder whether you suggest a Scrum methodology for the implementation of strategic initiatives. I mean, you mentioned about a shift from vertical to horizontal leadership and adoption of the Agile methodology. So the most frequent utilization of the Agile methodology is, I guess, a Scrum methodology. So
yes.
Do you suggest it within this framework?
Okay, so Scrum right now is one of the most popular models that many organizations are adopting. But like many new tools, a lot of companies are failing at it. So the question I would reframe is not, is Scrum the right methodology, the right thing to adopt? It's where is your organization and what is it looking to achieve? And then is Scrum going to give you support? Now, to launch Scrum into organizations, you have to have the leadership who will support collaboration and communication between departments. You have to have the sharing of data, which it sounds simple, but we all know how many leaders are protective. Say, oh, no, this is ours. You can't have it. So a massive change in mindset is required to make the Scrum rollout successful. So yes, I'm in favor of it because it moves to cross fertilization. It allows for a lot of techniques such as the check-ins, the stand-up meetings, the boards, the whole methodology that it comes with. It's very structured and very successful, but it has to fit into the culture of the company and the leaders have to have the right mindset, as well as the company has to be ready for it. Now, I'll give you a real live example. The bank in Singapore that I wrote the book on, DBS, they tried to move to Agile at scale, which uses scrums, and it only on the 5th attempt did they succeed. Now, this is the world's best bank for 5 years in a row. They do many things well, but it took them 5 attempts to adopt the Agile methodology. And the 5th attempt, what was different? They had to move from annual to quarterly budgeting. That was made it success. So there's no point, what I'm saying, and a long answer to you, Olgu, because it's a passionate question, and I loved your question, is there's no point setting up scrums if you don't have the finance, the leadership, the structure, and the commitment from the top to support everything else that needs to happen around it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is that, yeah? I don't know, is anyone else in scrums at the moment? Anyone else want to comment? Christian,
A
with your
former
work?
client,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, please, I was asking you. Yep, spot on.
A former client moved too quickly into transforming their methodology, and we told them don't. At the end of the day, you know that as consultants, you get work done through other people. You're not ready yet. You know, wait a few months to put these pieces in place, and you can just imagine how that turned out. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's more horror stories than success stories. So yeah, I fully appreciate how it must have turned out. Thank you for sharing. Right. Other comments or questions before we go to discussion? No? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, can you just take a picture of the screen so that you have the 14 new best practices? And I'm just going to create 3 rooms. So just be 2 or 3 people in each room. And we're just going to take 7 minutes, so 30 seconds on each one. And the simple question is, of the 14 best practices, which is the one that you like the most and why? So once again, the question is, which is the best practice you liked the most and why? And Antonio and I would love to hear your feedback. So we'll give you 7 minutes, and then it's just 3 rooms. So we'll then share which ones you picked and why. You don't all have to agree. You know, you can choose different best practices, but it's just an opportunity to share with somebody else first which one you like and why. So I'll open the rooms. We'll take 7 minutes and have a good discussion. Here we go.
culture evolution and employee engagement side and leadership excellence. The three
Okay, and was there
areas.
any one in particular that stood out among the three? Would you have a favorite if you had to choose? Pick one.
We didn't pick. Actually, it was a general discussion.
Okay, all right, no worries. All right, no, good to hear. Thank you. You know, because
I think. Oh, sorry.
on,
I was just going to chip in because we were in the same group. I think culture is the one that we commonly talked about quite a lot, saying if we can't set the culture right at the top, you know, in terms of barriers to change, barriers to implementing some of the other best practices. So when we talked about leadership excellence, you know, that's a big, certainly in my organization, everything you said very much resonated. You know, permission-based model, decision drag, everyone questioning, hang on, is this really what we should be doing? So I think changing the culture will be a facilitator towards really accelerating some of those other competencies.
Now, and sure, I fully agree, because if you look at all seven are difficult to do, but culture is the hardest of all of them. So fully agree. So thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Vinda.
Thank you.
Asma, what was your favorites?
Yeah, the difficult one, as they mentioned, is a culture. But my favorite is leadership. I always like the leadership, I know leadership style. And I don't know whether you have shared my example with among the other, you know, groups, and the one which I have shared during being in Muscat, the leadership, how we can change the leadership mindset, and how the things can be changed. I don't know whether you remember that example.
Yeah.
So that is the most thing where we cannot make any changes. But currently, what I'm doing, right, I'm maintaining a good relationship with the leaders. You know, to move on with my approaches and processes, I need to have a good relation, because to fast movement, fast implementation, you know, fast approvals and decision makers. So while maintaining a good relationship with those people, my things are moving fast and smoothly also. Since I'm dealing lots with the projects and day-to-day productions also.
And Adma, let me add on to what you've just shared. You know, we've talked about it within the bank, but also in other companies. A lot of, you know, people get frustrated because their senior leader is the bottleneck. And today it's not technology, but senior leadership who are the biggest bottleneck. And one of the other best practices that I haven't put in this, but the fastest way we found to help leaders change is also to get them to visit successful companies and hear from other leaders directly. So one of the things I do in Singapore is I bring people into Singapore and I take them on learning tours where they hear from peers about the challenges they faced and how they overcame them. And we found that's a very powerful way to also, as well as being in the classroom, combining that is a great way to get them to open up and change the way they lead. So Asma, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Shukran. Who did we miss? Just Ogu, yes? You started, so you'll finish. First and then last.
Sure. Actually, my part was about the employee engagement. I said the communication of strategy matters, because when people feel engaged and when really would like to take strategic actions by themselves with their own motivation, the strategy implementation would not fail. However, I also pointed out that it's all about the leadership style and culture itself. It's embedded in these two other parameters. Under the circumstances that the culture would empower people to take actions on behalf of the sake of the company, they would love to act strategically, or under the circumstances that the leader would support the process, step back and empower people to do their best, people would love to act strategically. So it's all about culture and leadership, but in addition to that, it comes from their own motivation. So under the circumstances that they would be engaged, the strategy wouldn't fail.
And yeah, I fully agree with you. If we build on what you're saying, there is a big shift from command and control to more coaching and guiding employees, because employees are participating, creating, engaging much more as we use tools such as design thinking, hackathons, journey mapping, data, etc. So fully agree with you. And as you say, the correlation is obviously there. These are not in isolation, as we all know, but it's when they come together, the magic happens.
Yeah, and Christian's point was, it's all about the leadership excellence, from vertical to horizontal leadership, and great place to work attitude, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think he will go into the details. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I spoke over you. My apologies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, all I was going to say was, yeah, absolutely. Without the leadership support, you hit a brick wall and you get frustrated. Thank you for that. As I said, this is part of the review that we're doing for the SIP course to keep it relevant and updated. So we will be, we continuously add new content that we, as a member, on your members page, you all have your own individual members login. When you go into the members page, you will see the framework and you will see the latest articles or content or videos with the date that we uploaded it to the new course. So even if you completed the course, we always notify you when we make changes. But as I said at the beginning, we will be doing a bigger review at the end of this year. So we appreciate your feedback. It's top of the hour and we start and finish on time. So thank you to everyone. It's wonderful to always meet you virtually. If you are going to be in London or Vienna during the conferences, please let Antonio and I know, because we started the Institute in the January 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. So going forward the next couple of years, we want to meet members face to face where we can. But on that note, Shukran, thank you to everyone for attending today. Wish you all the best on your implementation success. If anyone's got any specific questions they want to ask about the course, I can stay on for that. But to everyone else, it's top of the hour. And we'll see you next month. Antonio will be hosting probably the second week of November, because I know the first week he's in London for the conference. So probably be second week of November. And we look forward to seeing you then.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice
I
to
have
meet
one
you
quick
all.
question,
Bye-bye.
Robin, if you don't mind
Likewise.
staying on.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely.
Yeah, so my question was in terms of these
Just give me 2 seconds. I will stop the
Sure.
recording.